Nobody ever really prepares you for the first shock of awakening. Most people imagine it as a gentle slide into peace, a wave of bliss washing over their entire life, or some permanent glow of clarity. But the truth is far less glamorous and far more disruptive. The first stage of awakening doesn't arrive with fireworks or angelic choirs. It comes quietly, almost invisibly, like a curtain suddenly being pulled back on a stage you didn't even know you were standing on. For the first time, you see the play you've been acting in your whole life. You see the lines you memorized without question, the masks you wore to please others, and the roles you performed just to belong. And the realization hits hard. So much of who you thought you were wasn't real. It was conditioning, programming, expectation. It's as if a spotlight pierces through the darkness of your mind, and you can't unsee what it shows you. At first, this feels intoxicating. You might walk outside and suddenly the world looks different, sharper, more alive. Colors seem brighter. The wind feels almost like it's speaking to you. And the smallest details, a child laughing, sunlight on the sidewalk, carry a depth you never noticed before. You feel lighter, freer, as though a heavy weight has been lifted from your chest. For a brief moment, you're convinced, this is it. This is the real me. I've finally awakened. But then something unexpected happens. The euphoria fades. That sparkling clarity slips through your fingers like sand. And what takes its place is not the everlasting bliss you imagined, but something much harder to face: emptiness. Suddenly, the life you once knew, the conversations, the hobbies, the goals you chased, doesn't fit anymore. The job you once cared about feels meaningless. Friends you once laughed with now sound hollow. Even your daily routines feel like clothes that are 2 sizes too small. This is the first true shock of awakening, realizing you don't belong in the old story anymore, but you have no idea what the new one is. It's like climbing to the top of a mountain only to see endless ranges of taller, darker peaks stretching out ahead. You thought you'd reached the summit, but really, you've only arrived at the beginning. And in that strange silence, half exhilarating, half terrifying, you're forced to ask yourself a question most people spend their whole lives avoiding. If everything I believed about myself was an illusion, then what is real? That is the moment awakening truly begins. What nobody tells you about awakening is that it's not only about gaining wisdom, it's also about losing, and loss hurts. The moment the initial euphoria fades, something heavier begins to creep in. It feels like mourning, but you're not mourning a person. You're mourning a version of yourself, an identity, a life that no longer fits. This is the first true shock of awakening, realizing you don't belong in the old story anymore, but you have no idea what the new one is. It's like climbing to the top of a mountain only to see endless ranges of taller, darker peaks stretching out ahead. You thought you'd reached the summit, but really, you've only arrived at the beginning. And in that strange silence, half exhilarating, half terrifying, you're forced to ask yourself a question most people spend their whole lives avoiding. If everything I believed about myself was an illusion, then what is real? That is the moment awakening truly begins. What nobody tells you about awakening is that it's not only about gaining wisdom, it's also about losing, and loss hurts. The moment the initial euphoria fades, something heavier begins to creep in. It feels like mourning, but you're not mourning a person. You're mourning a version of yourself, an identity, a life that no longer fits. Think of it like moving into a beautiful new home with wide windows, sunlight streaming in, and fresh air everywhere. It's clearly better than the cramped, dark apartment you lived in before. And yet, a part of you still misses that tiny old space. It was familiar. It was safe. You knew every corner, every creak in the floorboards. Letting go of it feels strangely painful, even if you know you've outgrown it. That's what this stage of awakening feels like, a tug of war between the freedom of new awareness and the nostalgia of the old life. You'll start to notice it in your daily interactions. A conversation with friends that once felt easy suddenly feels shallow. The goals that used to light a fire inside you, career milestones, social recognition, even long-held dreams, now feel empty, like chewing gum that's lost all its flavor. And it's confusing because the world around you hasn't changed. You have. That disconnect is what creates the ache, the grief. It can feel like your entire personality is dissolving. The jokes you used to laugh at no longer amuse you. The people you used to crave validation from no longer inspire you. Even the food, music, or activities that once gave you comfort may now leave you strangely numb. And you find yourself asking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I enjoy the things I used to? But the truth is, nothing is wrong. You're simply shedding. And shedding always looks messy. Snakes don't peel off their old skin gracefully. They writhe and twist until the brittle layers finally tear away. Caterpillars don't sprout wings neatly. They dissolve into a formless soup before transforming into butterflies. That's exactly what's happening to you. You're dissolving, and yes, it feels like death. This grief isn't just sadness. It's confusion. It's anger. It's the strange heaviness of knowing you can't go back, combined with the fear of not knowing what's ahead. And most people misinterpret this stage. They think they've failed. They think their awakening is broken. But in truth, this loss is sacred. Because before you can step into who you truly are, you have to release everything you are not. If the grief of awakening feels like losing your home, then the collapse of identity feels like losing yourself. And it's one of the hardest stages to survive. One morning you wake up and the question hits you like a lightning bolt. If I'm not who I thought I was, then who am I? Every label you've carried, your job title, your role in your family, your personality type, even the quirks you thought defined you, suddenly feel paper thin. It's as if you've been walking around your whole life wearing a costume, and now the seams are coming apart. You realize how much of you was built from other people's expectations, from culture, from childhood survival strategies. And when those masks start to slip, you feel naked, exposed, and terrifyingly unanchored. For years, your mind clung to these identities for safety. Being the strong one, the successful one, the kind one, or the people pleaser gave you a sense of place in the world. But now, those roles don't fit anymore. They crumble in your hands like sand slipping through your fingers. Without them, you feel like you're floating in a void, a ghost haunting your own life. This collapse is brutal because the human mind hates uncertainty. It needs something solid to grip onto. So when all the old anchors disappear, panic sets in. You may hear your ego screaming, "You're disappearing, you're losing everything, you're going crazy." And in those moments, it truly feels like you are. But here's the deeper truth. What's dissolving isn't the real you. It's the false self you've carried for so long. The costumes, the labels, the carefully constructed story, they're all being stripped away, leaving only what's authentic. And while that authenticity feels raw, it's also the only thing that can't be taken from you. Think about it. Have you ever played a role for so long, at work, in a relationship, even in your own family, that you forgot where the role ended and you began? Awakening rips that line wide open. It doesn't let you hide in the performance anymore. It demands that you see what's real beneath the act. And yes, it feels like death, because in many ways it is. It's the death of every identity that was never truly yours to begin with. And when you're in the middle of it, you'll feel like you're unraveling. But that unraveling is sacred, because only when the old self collapses can the true self emerge. Just when you think you've adjusted to the collapse of identity and the loneliness it brings, something even more unpredictable begins to surface: the storms of emotion. Awakening doesn't just open your eyes, it rips open your heart. And all the feelings you've buried for years, maybe even decades, start to pour out at once. One day, you might be overwhelmed with gratitude for the simplest things. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of leaves rustling in the wind, a stranger's kind smile. In those moments, you feel so connected, so alive, that tears flow without reason. The next day, you wake up restless, heavy, even angry at everything and everyone, including yourself. The emotional swings are so intense, you might wonder if you're losing your mind. Here's the truth. You're not going crazy. You're detoxing. Think about it. For most of your life, you've pushed pain into the shadows. Childhood wounds, heartbreaks, disappointments, all the times you swallowed your feelings just to survive. They didn't disappear. They stayed inside, hiding under the armor of your old identity. Awakening is the process of breaking that armor, and when it cracks, everything you've suppressed comes rushing out. It feels overwhelming because you're not just dealing with today's emotions, you're feeling the echoes of a lifetime. Old grief, shame, regret, even rage that you didn't know you were carrying. They rise like waves, crashing one after another, leaving you gasping for breath. And the temptation is always to run, to numb yourself with distractions, to rebuild your old defenses. But here's the paradox. The only way out is through. These storms aren't here to drown you, they're here to cleanse you. Imagine shaking a bottle of soda. Eventually, all that pressure has to burst out. That's what's happening inside you. The more you let the storms move through, the more spacious you become. And slowly, amidst the chaos, you begin to notice something extraordinary. The feelings lose their grip. Anger still comes, but it doesn't control you. Sadness still rises, but it no longer defines you. This stage teaches you the most radical lesson of all, that you are not your emotions. You are the awareness watching them. And once you realize that, the storms no longer terrify you. They become part of the rhythm of awakening, a necessary cleansing that prepares you for something deeper. In the next part, we'll explore what happens once the storms pass, the strange emptiness that follows, why it feels like a void, and why that void is actually the doorway to your rebirth. After the emotional storms rage through you, after the grief, the loneliness, the identity collapse, something unexpected happens. The noise quiets, the intensity fades, and what's left isn't the bliss you imagined, it's emptiness, a silence so heavy it feels like the air has been drained from the room. This stage is often called the void, and it's the one that frightens people most. At first, it feels like you've lost everything. You wake up in the morning and nothing excites you. The passions that once fueled you feel meaningless. The goals you used to chase no longer hold weight. Even your emotions, once overwhelming, now seem muted. It's as if life itself has gone flat, stripped of all color. And in that stillness, your mind screams, "Something's wrong, I'm broken, I've lost my awakening." But here's the secret most people don't see. The void isn't a punishment. It's a pause. It's life pressing reset, stripping away the old so that something new has space to grow. Think of a forest after a wildfire. To the naked eye, it looks like destruction, blackened trees, silence where there was once life. But beneath the ashes, new seeds are preparing to sprout. The soil is richer than ever before. The void works the same way. In this stage, the ego feels like it's dying because it can't find anything solid to cling to. No identity, no distractions, no clear direction. And that's why it feels unbearable at first, because your old self is dissolving, but your new self hasn't fully formed yet. You're standing in the in-between, and the human mind hates the in-between. It wants answers, certainty, a plan. But awakening doesn't give you a plan. It gives you space. This is where the real transformation begins. If you can resist the urge to fill the void with noise, with old habits, with the distractions you used to run to, you'll discover something extraordinary. The silence you feared isn't empty at all. Beneath the stillness is a presence, a quiet awareness that has been with you all along. And once you touch it, even for a moment, you realize this void isn't death, it's rebirth. The void is the cocoon stage. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening, but on the inside, everything is. You're dissolving into who you were always meant to be. And if you can surrender to it, if you can sit in the silence without running back to the comfort of illusions, you'll emerge from it lighter, freer, more awake than ever before. In the final part, we'll bring it all together. The rebirth that happens after the void, the unshakable freedom it brings, and why surviving this stage changes you forever. And I'll leave you with a powerful call to action to carry this awakening into your own life. And then, after the storms, after the loneliness, after the terrifying emptiness of the void, something begins to shift. At first, it's subtle. You don't notice a grand explosion of light or an angel whispering in your ear. It's quieter than that, like the faintest glow breaking through after a long night. One morning you wake up, and instead of feeling crushed by the silence, you feel at peace with it. Instead of fearing the emptiness, you notice its stillness is strangely comforting. The void hasn't gone away. You've simply stopped fighting it. This is the moment of rebirth. Not a return to your old self, but the discovery of a self that was always here beneath the noise. It's like stepping outside after a storm and realizing the air is cleaner, the sky sharper, the colors more alive. The world hasn't changed, you have. You begin to feel lighter, not because life suddenly became easy, but because the heavy layers you carried for so long have finally fallen away. The opinions of others don't weigh you down the way they used to. Old triggers lose their grip. The dramas that once consumed your attention now seem small, almost laughable. For the first time, you experience freedom not as an idea, but as a lived reality. And here's the most astonishing part. The rebirth doesn't make you someone new. It makes you more of who you've always been. The authentic self, the raw self, the self that doesn't need to perform or please or prove. You realize awakening wasn't about adding anything to you. It was about removing everything that wasn't you. From here, life feels different. You walk into the same rooms, talk to the same people, and face the same challenges, but you carry a new awareness. The storms no longer terrify you because you know they pass. The loneliness no longer breaks you because you've discovered your own company is enough. And the void no longer scares you because you've seen the truth. It was never empty. It was always full of presence, full of you. This is why surviving the first year of awakening changes everything. It's not about avoiding the breakdown, the grief, or the chaos. It's about walking through it, trusting that on the other side is a freedom beyond anything you imagined. So here's my challenge for you. If you're in the middle of your own collapse right now, don't run. Don't numb. Don't quit. Stay with it. Because every breakdown you survive is proof you are stronger than the illusion. And if you've already touched even a glimpse of this rebirth, share it. Tell your story. Leave it in the comments, because your journey might be the very sign someone else is waiting for. And if this message stirred something inside you, don't let it end here. Subscribe, stay connected, and come with me into the next chapter, where we'll go even deeper into what it means to live from this freedom every single day. Because remember this, no one survives the first year of awakening unchanged. The question is, will you survive it and let it remake you into who you really are?